Otto von Bismarck, if you'll cast your mind back, the late 19th century German chancellor who unified modern Germany, I love the hat, was asked by a young reporter in 1898 what he took to be the decisive factor in modern history. And he answered presciently, remarkable prescience, that the North Americans speak English. It turns out, if you think about it over the course of the 20th century, it would have been an enormously important and influential fact. It determined, for example, that the United States would crucially determine that the United States would enter World War I and II on the side of the British rather than on the side of the French or the Germans. If America were a French-speaking country, it's not all clear that would have happened. That had to do then with that had a large shaping the hegemony of the English-speaking world. Britain, the United States, Canada, Australia, because the core nations of the English-speaking world, they're sometimes called in world politics. It was in the 20th century enormously influential, and the spread of English itself. So that when the web was first being institutionalized and spread internationally, it seemed obvious that it would be just another road along which the English language would march on its inevitable path to world domination. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read the paper that I wrote. Was there? I got not. This was some research that I did. This is in the late 90s, so 15 years ago, with Henry Schütze, a German computational linguist who's now at the University of Stuttgart. And we were interested in just in the distribution of languages on the web. Now, the easy way to do that, the way people still do it, is say, well, how many accounts are there? How many web accounts or how many web addresses are there in Germany? Okay, there's German speaking. How many other in China? They're Chinese speaking, and so on and so forth. But clearly, that wasn't the interesting way to find this out. In part because lots and lots of the people in those countries at this point, in particular, were using English or sometimes some other language that was not their native language. And in part because those addresses, particularly back then, everybody in Europe, there were something like 1.5 million Germans with AOL accounts in 1997. All of them had a .com address, a U.S. address, so it wasn't really very useful to. You couldn't tell from that address where they were. So Henrik implemented a language tagger. There's several of these. Are very interesting. It's an interesting software problem, developing a system that you get a lot of English and a lot of German and a lot of French, and then you throw another text at it. You let it learn from those what makes German French, using logistic regression in this case, determine which features signal the language, and then you throw some language at it and says, I think it's Swedish, I think it's German web. And this worked fairly well. And we threw it at the web to see. This was a map. Sorry, this is a map just that we did of just the web penetration. The darker blue it is, the greater the penetration, the more machines there were, the more accounts, the more users of the web. This was an account. This was an indication of where the redder it is, the greater the proportion of sites that are in languages other than English. This again was quite complicated to do because you have a site in France that was 80% English, and you look at it and you say, oh, there's a Unix manual here. They just popped in an English language Unix manual and so on. Nonetheless, with lots of work, Henrik did virtually all this work, we were able to determine this. Now, what's clear if you look at these is first of all that the web is most at this point, is most diffused in terms of percentage of population in the English-speaking world, in particular the U.S., in Australia, and the U.K., and in Scandinavia, which almost counts as part of the English-speaking world, because they all speak English. It's at very high levels, the Holland same way, very high levels of English proficiency, and because they know that their local languages are not going to be understood if you take one step over the border. They're not like the French who say, well, the Welsh should know French. They're much more practical about the effects of the Dutch the same way. So they were using, they were highly diffused, they were high levels of penetration, and effectively using the web in English. By contrast, apart from Germany and one or two others, and the nations of Southern Europe and Latin America, where they were using more of the local language, also had lower penetration. The conclusion that at this point, a vast amount of the web traffic is in English. 80% we figured of websites are in English. And those are concentrated either in the English-speaking world or in countries like Scandinavia, the Scandinavian countries or the Netherlands, where they're effectively part of the English-speaking world. So it seems as if at this point English is just marching to world domination. Already, English dominates communication in various areas of culture and science and trade. A vast proportion of the scientific communication in the world is in English, depending on the field. If you look at something like high-energy physics, it's 99.99%. In some areas, it's a little lower. Chemistry turns out to have a relatively lower or higher proportion of non-English communication. There are a lot of Japanese chemistry journals, for example, that publish in Japanese. For the Japanese physics journals, they publish in English. Medicine, it depends on the field. If it's oncology, it's all in English. If it's tropical diseases, there's a lot of stuff in French and Spanish. So it varies even within a domain according to the interest. Nonetheless, English is increasingly the vehicle for communication in science, commerce, and law. And naturally, people become anxious about the spread of about the spread of English. In 1999, the director of Russian ISP, the web is the ultimate act of intellectual colonialism. Kofi Annan, then the United Nations Secretary General, a few years later, nearly 70% of the world's websites are in English, at times crowding out other voices and views. What's odd about that statement? 70% are in English, that's true and unproblematic. What's odd about the second part? How do you crowd out the views of French or Spanish speakers on the web? Yeah. Right, that's well put. Thank you for agreeing. It's not like movie screens. The French freak out at the number of American films that dominate the French movie screens. Because there are, I think, 15,000 movie screens in France. Every one that's showing Jurassic Park, I remember the time this came up that Jurassic Park was the hit movie, is not showing a film by Eric Rohmer or some French director. And in fact, the French passed laws that restrict or the amount of foreign content that you can. Radio stations have to play a certain amount of French music and so on and so forth. But on the internet, it isn't as if there could be gazillions. You could have 1% of the content, but it's not as if people who are interested in it can't find it. So crowding out is an interesting metaphor. You're one that suggests a mind attuned to an older informational order. Then, quite factually, a few years later, the New York Times writes that English has consolidated its dominance as the language of the internet, where 80% of the world's electronically stored information is in English. That's a slightly different criterion here. You also see people on the English language side saying, aha, here we go, on to triumph. The internet, one linguist wrote on a linguistic site, is a great force for the Anglification of the planet. That's the sort of thing that warm the cockles of any Frenchman's heart. The editor of The Futurist says English will soon be the native language of the majority of the world by some time in the next century, thanks to the internet. Someone else in 1996, there's no retreat from English as the world language, no retreat from an English-speaking world. This is just going to happen now. Everybody's going to want to speak English thanks to the internet and so on and so forth. Well, over the ensuing decade or 15 years, it turns out that the English dominance decreases. And why is that? Because the penetration increases in these low penetration countries like China in particular. And lots more people are using the internet. And they're getting there in various ways. We'll talk about that. They're getting their internet not just in their PCs in their homes or their offices, but they're going to internet chat rooms. They're right now on their mobiles. And mobile will probably either does or will dominate internet connectivity very, very soon. So that when you look at the percentage of languages, I don't know how much you can read. That's English at the top and Chinese beneath it. Now, it turns out that that's probably wrong. I'll come to that one second. Actually, Chinese is probably ahead of English now. They weren't counting mobile connectivity when they did that, I think, and multiple users of the same account. And so if you look at that, actually, Chinese is probably more. Followed by Spanish, Japanese, Portuguese. These follow very closely the distribution of these languages in the world. In the Indic languages, Hindi and so on are the outlier, but in India, because you have a multilingual community and there's very wide literacy in English, particularly among the middle class who are going to be most likely to be connecting, English is the dominant language there. And the other thing that's happened here is that when in the early days, particularly in these other countries, the first people who go online are the scientific societies, the Ministry of Culture, the other people who really want to communicate with people outside the country, particularly since there aren't that many people online within the country. By the mid-2000s, it's the pizzerias, the movie theaters, the bars, the concerts, the dating sites, and so on, who could care less about what somebody in New York is thinking when they come on the site. It's for local consumption, so it's in the native language. And what you find in these countries is a very interesting mix of use, particularly in multilingual communities. People are not communicating electronically in just one language. I had a call, I guess just last week, from a woman who looked at this stuff a long time ago. She's at Microsoft, and she's one of the marketers in charge of planning the future of Microsoft Word. And they were trying to decide what languages they wanted to go to next. I mean, the alphabet, the Unicode sets, and the alphabets are available for all these different languages, but where should they put a lot of money and effort into building documentation and so on and so forth? And, this is the second tier things, the French and Spanish and Chinese and so on. That's not right. They know they're going there, but they know they're already there. But where are they going to do? What do they do with Turkish, for example? Well, it turns out, and this is what's interesting, although you have very high levels of Turkish, relatively high levels of, I guess you'd say the developed world, not for Turkey, almost the developed world, of internet use. And though there are a fair number of Turkish web pages, a lot of Turkish on the web, the Turks are not buying that much Microsoft Word. And when they do buy Microsoft Word, it's not clear if they're using it to produce English or Turkish. So there's a difference. People are doing more of their native languages on the web. I'm sorry, Microsoft Word they're not using to do Turkish. So when they're on the web, they may use Turkish. When they're using Microsoft Word, they're more likely to be using it in English. In which case, having documentation in Turkish is less crucial for them than it might be for some other policy. And they're trying to work this out, Microsoft, just in order to prioritize these considerations. I don't know what the story is. I don't know why. Maybe they use it for a different kind of document. Maybe it's a different sector. Maybe it's the business sector as opposed to the some other sector. I don't know what the story is, but it's highly particular. People nonetheless have this sense, continuing that English is the language, even though there's lots and lots of French and German, people still have this sense of English as dominant. One reason may be that if you go to a search engine like Google, before these things are highly localized, and you type in, for instance, the name of the French author Roland Barthes, you're going to find about 90% of the hits are in English. Seems shocking, right? I mean, our own author, Roland Barthes, in 99. Well, it turns out that if you look at the proportion of users, that still means that many more French people per capita are posting about Roland Barthes than English users, but you don't see those proportions. Once you get these things localized and you're shown different things according to where you're sitting, and we talked about that last time, you talked about that last time, this tends to go away. Nonetheless, there's this fear, I love this word, Jean-Noël Jeanneney, who was the director of the French National Library, the Bibliothèque de France, Bibliothèque Nationale de France, it's called now, warned about the omni-Googleization, the omni-Googleization of the web. It's a word we should have in English. And argued a particular difference with Google Books. Well, you can have all these books digitized in English, and we're not digitizing books. So somebody's going to look up the French Revolution, and they're going to hit on some story about the valiant English aristocrats saving someone from the guillotine, and not get our side of the story. So there is, in fact, in response to that perception of this Europeana system, which is digitizing a big part of the European cultural heritage, and learning from Google. The second one in always has an advantage. They're learning from Google Books, and they're doing a better job than Google Books. They will ultimately have to do a better job here, not with Google Books, but with Google companies. Moreover, growth of the internet is fastest in the developing world. Not surprisingly, you're starting with a lower baseline. So if you look at where internet penetration is increasing fastest, it's in Africa. You've got very few. I mean, it's pretty plentiful. In North America, it's increased by about 150% over the last decade. It boomed. They're now pretty much everybody. Once you're 70% penetration, 80% penetration, you're not going to have penetration increase. It can't continue to increase at the rate it was in the 1990s. And in fact, the advantage of the web is it gives more access to these middling languages, like Serbian, like Hebrew, like Catalan. Catalan spoken by 6 million speakers in northeastern Spain, in Barcelona, and Valencia, in that area. It's an important language with its own literature. If you go to Barcelona, I spent a couple months teaching there once, and I worked at my Spanish. Nobody wanted to talk Spanish. They talked English, or I could talk Catalan. So, it's a language, though, like a lot of others, such that the second you take a step out of Catalonia, that's it. You have no contact with that region. It isn't like speaking English where you go to Paris and you can get CNN, and you can buy the Herald Tribune, and you can see American movies and so on. That's gone. Until now. When, of course, a Catalan speaker or a Serbian speaker or a speaker of Tamil or whatever can get access to those resources even from Berkeley, California, and increasingly more to films and other media and so on. It's those languages that really benefit from the digitization. Let me give me 1 second at the beginning of next time, Paul. I'm going to say something about Ghana and digitization. But I do want to. I'm sorry. Oh, well, I will give myself a moment then. Yes. For next time, we're going to talk about the effects of the internet in particular in publishing and the future of the book and so on, but in other domains as well. There is an assignment, and you're going to bring in a broadsheet newspaper. A broadsheet newspaper is a big newspaper like the New York Times. It's not a thing that folds like a book. It's one of these things like that. Everybody's going to bring in a broadsheet newspaper, and you're going to learn something that you will take with you for the rest of your life. So I promise.